Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Buddhist Secret. Today, I'm going to answer the question proposed by one of our listeners. It is, what is the Buddhist view on the LGBT? And can these people attain Nibbāna? So today I'm going to try to answer this to the best as I possibly can. And also the type of people that can attain Nibbāna. But before this, let's take a few moments to worship the Supreme One. The one whose compassion knows no bound, the undefeated one. The one whose intelligence has no limits, the Supreme Buddha. To do this, can I request for you all to be upstanding and recite Namaskar with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, you may all now be seated. So, what do you think? What do you think? Can these people attain Nibbāna? To answer this, first we have to find out what sort of people can attain Nibbāna. So, I don't think you'd mind if I called Nibbāna as happiness or unconditional happiness. We'll talk a bit about Nibbāna maybe today or maybe in a future talk, but for now, we can call Nibbāna as unconditional happiness. Happiness that's unconditional. So, if we rephrase the question, can lesbians, can people who are gay, can people who are bisexual, trans, questioning, queer, as I remember there's I think 72 genders, can these people become or be happy? Or be unconditionally happy? You see, that's the question. So firstly, right, what sort of people can attain Nibbāna? Do they have to be straight? Do they have to be, I don't know, a specific gender? Do they need to be intelligent? Do they need to be a certain race? A certain religion? Do they have to be a certain religion? Is it only Buddhists that can attain Nibbāna? Is it only people who are straight? Is it only males? Is it only people who have brown skin that can attain Nibbāna? Is it people who are this tall, or taller than this, smaller than this, shorter than this? Is it people who weigh less than 75 kilograms, or more than 75 kilograms? Or people who are not dwarfs? Are these the people who contain Nibbāna? What sort of people can attain Nibbana? You see, it's a very interesting question, that is. To answer that question, we first have to look at ourselves. We have to look at ourselves. So I wonder if you guys heard of a philosopher called René Descartes. He was a philosopher who talked about this dualism, meaning mind and the body. So, here's the thing. Before René Descartes talked about the mind and body, the Buddha and people before him had also realized that there's a mind and there's a body. And the Buddha is someone who has understood the full extent of our mind, what our mind is, how it works, and how to improve, how and why things happen. The Buddha was the first person to fully understand it. So, let's put aside religion. We'll put aside religion for now. So, because the Buddhist teaching, his teaching is different to a religion. Because that's why people say, right? Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy. I'm not here to argue whether it's a philosophy or a religion, right? I'm saying that the teachings of the Buddha isn't a religion. Isn't something that we should follow and worship and all this. Because his teachings are it is a science. So, for example, like psychology. Psychology is all about the way we think, why this happens, and all that. But the Buddha taught about the mind. It's a science. He preached science, theory, and practicals. If you looked at his teachings, you can see theory, and you can see the practical, the application of that theory. That's what science is, right? So if we define science, we have theory, and that's how things work. So we know motors work because of magnets and the electric current and etc., etc., etc. And that's what the Buddha did. He explained the world. He explained to everyone. He explained that this is how the mind works. And he solved a problem that everyone has. So we're not going to talk about any of that, right? We're talking about that. We're trying to answer the question, right? What sort of people can attain Nibbāna? Or achieve unconditional happiness, or so they say. So let's put aside religion, right? So not the Buddhist religion, but the Buddhist teaching, which is a science. So if it's a science, right, what sort of people can follow, or what sort of people can understand Newton's law? Newton's laws. You all know Sir Isaac Newton, right? The apple fell on his head and out came 3 laws. And each of them are all to do with how the world works. That I understand. That's something that you understand. That's something that anyone can understand. So, okay. Gravity. The science of gravity. Does that only work if you're male? So for all females, gravity doesn't work. That you see, say, people who have darker colored skin, they float around because gravity doesn't work for them. Or do you see people who are very tall, right? That gravity is working too much, and they find stepping or walking extremely difficult. What sort of people does gravity affect? The answer is anyone. Anyone and everyone. So Newton's laws of motion, right? You will know the laws. Without friction, if you give a force, it's going to keep on going. Or if there's no force that's opposing it, an object moving at a constant speed will keep going. And you get the equation F equals ma. We're not here for a physics lesson, are we? So forget about that, right? But does that only work if you're, I don't know, if you're Christians, if you're Catholic, if you're Muslim? Or does that only happen if you're black, white? It works for everyone. So the Buddha is someone who preached a teaching, a science that works for who? Everyone. You see, the Buddha is someone who understood the mind, had understood how the mind works, and had solved a problem that no one else had solved before him. People obviously before him knew about the mind and the body and all this, but the Buddha knew the full extent. He found that he knew the full extent, and then he solved a problem that is universal. A universal problem that we all have. And that's what? Suffering. You see, to answer the question, right, what is the Buddhist view on LGBTQ plus and the 72 genders? Well, and what race you have to be, how intelligent you have to be. You see, the Buddha doesn't talk about people. He doesn't talk about people. He talks about minds. So you tell me, a mind, right? A mind is what gender? A mind is, like, what color mind do you have? How big of a mind do you have? How dense of a mind do you have? You see, minds don't have a form. It's not, you can't say a mind is, so they say a brain is this big, right? Your mind is not this big. Your mind doesn't have a shape, doesn't have a size, doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a form. So, if it doesn't have a form, then the Buddhist teachings for people who want to find happiness, who don't want to suffer, who doesn't want to suffer at all, one bit. And so he preaches to get rid of suffering. Right? So it's like this, right? If he teaches to get rid of suffering, what sort of people want to get rid of suffering? What sort of people want to be happy? Everyone. Everyone wants to be happy. And so when he talks about minds, you can't separate. You can't say this mind is like this mind is like this. This is all to do with feelings. The mind can only feel. So, a mind can feel anything. A mind can feel anything. So, if we look at in terms of minds, whether you're straight, whether you're a lesbian, gay, trans, whether you're queer, whether you're questioning, whether you're anything, whether you're gender fluid, whether you're anything, all minds are equal. Except minds, if a mind has a greater quality in the way they think, if a mind has greater virtues, then their mind is superior. For example, right? If we were to compare the mind of a Buddha and the mind of, say, my mind, the Supreme Buddha, his virtues, his mind works with a very virtuous mind. And therefore, he is superior. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Russian, whether you're Japanese, Chinese, Tibetan, whether you're from Canada, whether you're from Greenland, whether you're from the Antarctic. It doesn't matter. Because all our mind is one. Our minds are all the same. So the Buddha preaches two minds. He doesn't preach to people. So you don't need to be Buddhist to attain Nibbāna. Buddhism is a religion. It doesn't mean people who are Christians can't attain Nibbāna, because we're talking about a science. The science of happiness. The science of happiness. That's what Buddhism is. So if you feel sad and you want to be happy, then you can, that's not what Buddhism is. That's what Buddhist philosophy is. Because the Buddha teaches about the mind and tries to solve the problems that the mind faces. So if you feel suffering, if you feel sad, if you feel angry, if you feel the desire, a great desire to do things, if you feel that you get angry, ashamed, you don't like the feeling of being ashamed, you don't like the feeling of fear, then the answer to that is Nibbāna. The answer to that is Buddhist philosophy. It's a science. For example, right? Let's just take the equation, right? Newton's equation of F equals ma. If you want a force to increase, what do you have to do? You have to either increase m, or mass, or increase the acceleration. If you want to increase acceleration, you have to increase the force and decrease the mass. And obviously you'll learn all this at school. We know that. So the Buddha understands the mind and says, look, you are suffering here. You are angry here. You are unhappy here. Then what do you have to do? To remove that, to remove a force, what do you have to do? Either get rid of mass or get rid of acceleration. And so the Buddha shows that and shows you the path to get rid of it. The cause, the path, And you just follow it. So to answer that amazing question, what is the Buddhist view of people, of lesbians, gays, and the rest? All those people. You are no different. We are all similar. What is the Buddhist views of racism? Well, honestly, there is no difference. It's just a mind and a body. The body could be anything. What's the Buddhist views on other religions? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're Christian. It doesn't matter if you're Sikh. It doesn't matter if you're atheist. It doesn't matter. Because, again, to attain Nibbana, you have to be Buddhist. To attain Nibbana, you have to have a certain IQ level. Now, I know, as a fact, right, a lot of people think to attain Nibbana, you have to be very intelligent. You have to be really really intelligent. And what? Do you have to be intelligent? What sort of profession do you have to do to attain Nibbana? Can only teachers, doctors, lawyers attain Nibbana? At what age can you attain Nibbana? Only people who are 50 years old can attain Nibbana. Only people who are like a good 30, in their middle ages, in their 20s. Can only young people attain Nibbana. We'll talk about all this, like about the mind in a future talk. But how old is the mind? How old is the mind? Age doesn't matter. Race doesn't matter. What religion you are doesn't matter. So it's not people who are just Buddhist can attain Nibbana. Not people who are brown, Asian. Not people who are straight. You have to be Buddhist. You have to be Asian. You have to have IQ level of, I don't know, 100 and say 56. Yeah, you have to be X height. You have to have the mass of Y, and you have to none of that. To attain Nibbana, you have to have a mind. Now, who doesn't have a mind? Everyone has a mind. Everyone has a mind. It's not that only these people have minds. No, everyone has a mind. Everyone has a body. I'm hopefully just talking to humans, right? I don't know if I'm talking to ghosts. I don't know if I'm talking to I don't know, just minds. I hope not. I hope I'm talking to just humans here. If you're a human, well, whoever's listening, if you can listen, if you can hear, you have a mind. That is pretty much... No, you need more. Not just you need a mind, and what else? You need You need to be able to understand what I'm saying. If you can understand what I'm saying, if you have a mind and you can understand what I'm saying, and only if you're willing to change, if you're willing to listen, if you're open about it, then you can attain Nibbana. It's only if you're willing. If you're open, if you're open, only if you are willing to be, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to be a student, then you can attain Nibbana. If not, it's only if you are. If you have a mind, check. If you're able to understand what I'm saying, check. If you understand if you can experience things and recall experiences, check. And if you're willing to be a student, then you can attain Nibbana. Then you can be unconditionally happy. If not, no way. You see, that last one, that last tick is what decides whether you can attain Nibbana. That last one. See, these are the only things you need to attain Nibbana. Number one, you need a mind. Number two, you need to be able to understand what I'm saying. Obviously, right? If you can't understand what I'm saying, or if you can't understand what someone else says, how can you attain Nibbana? How can you understand something? Because remember, how are you supposed to learn? How are you supposed to be a student? You can't. So obviously, right, you need a mind, right? Because you need to be able to think, right? You need to be able to understand what I'm saying. If you can't, then if I randomly start talking in Greek, right, and you don't understand Greek, then how are you supposed to learn anything? Right? So you need to be able to understand what I'm saying. Then you need to be able to recall experiences. You need to be able to experience and recall experiences. Okay, here's the test, right? Yesterday, when you woke up, what did you do? You remember? Check. You remember, right? Check. Let's say, how do you feel when you get to lick an ice cream? How do you feel? Whatever your answer is, check. Whether you feel happy, or whether you feel cold, whether you feel sad, still check. No matter what you feel. When you have to talk in front of hundreds of thousands of people, how do you feel? Check. It doesn't matter what you feel. What it matters is that you can feel, that you can recall experiences, memories, and you can experience and you can imagine. So how intelligent do you have to be able to recall experiences? How intelligent do you have to be to listen to what I'm saying? I don't think you need to be very, very intelligible to understand what I'm saying. You don't need to have a degree to understand what I'm saying, I don't think. But but through experience, right? And so the Buddha says that people who are older than 7, well, he didn't say it's older than 7, but in the stories and in all these, what we realize is that 7 is usually the age where people can understand the Dharma. Why? Because then they can understand everything I'm saying. They have enough experiences to understand the examples and to be able to put it into practice. Because, again, the Buddha's teaching is a science. Meaning what? You tell me. Let's say a great scientist. Let's say. Let's not go into science here, right? But let's say turning on a light bulb. When you turn on a switch, the light turns on, right? And we know because of electricity. Does that only happen on Mondays? Does it only happen on Tuesdays? Wednesdays? No. It happens on the second week of every month. No? It's on the last week of December. Lights, when you turn on a switch, it doesn't turn on. No, of course not. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what day it is, what month it is. It applies everywhere and anywhere where the conditions are. So obviously, things like gravity will change as you go when you go into space. It'll change. Right? We know that the moon doesn't have as much gravity, and we know that black holes have infinite amount of gravity. Well, not infinite, a lot. We know that. And things like time and all that, it's all, if the conditions are there, then that law is there. Right? For the conditions to attain Nibbāna is what? As long as you have a mind, and as long as you can think, and as long as you can experience, you can attain Nibbāna. If not, you can't. Simple as. Simple as that. Now, remember, we had a checklist. The last one was to be a student, to be willing to attain Nibbāna, to be open, imagine a person, right? Imagine there's a person who is extremely hungry, right? Who is, say, if you don't give this person food in the next half an hour, they are destined to die. That's how hungry they are. And in your hand, you have, say, some biscuits. And you go up to this person and you're like, you look like you're starving. Do you want a biscuit? And if this person says, no, I don't want a biscuit. And you ask, why? Because I just don't want to. Because I don't want to not starve. I like starving. But you're going to die in another half an hour. No, I'm not going to die. But I'm not going to starve. I'm not going to eat whatever you're giving either. How are you supposed to save the person? How are you supposed to save the person from dying? They don't want to die, but they don't want to not starve either. It doesn't make sense, does it? Same thing. If you're not willing, if you're not willing to be a student, if you're not willing to learn, if you're not willing to be open, how are you supposed to understand anything? You can't. Simple as that. You can't. If you're not willing to understand, you can't. So even if, like, say somehow you put this biscuit into their mouth, they're not going to eat it. They're going to spit it out and go back to their corner and starve. So if you are not willing to take the Dhamma, if you like to suffer, if you enjoy suffering, if you enjoy being angry and frustrated and confused and depressed, if you enjoy all of that, then carry on. Carry on. You see, something that I learned the hard way. So this is from experience. The only thing the other person can do is take the horse to the watering hole. Take the horse to a lake. That's the only thing someone can do. Then the horse decides whether it will drink or not. The owner cannot force the horse to drink. I don't know if you have that experience, right? But this is just a metaphor, right? The only thing someone can do is bring you or tell you something. Whether you're going to accept it or not, that's your choice. So the only thing I can do is bring you all to a place where there's water. Whether you drink that water or not, that's entirely up to you. Whether you're willing to do it or not, that's entirely up to you. That's what I'm saying. I will not force you to do anything. Honestly, because I know that if I force you, you're not going to do anything, are you? I could say, okay, everyone from now on, you have to listen to exactly everything I have to say, right? And do everything I say. So I am now the dictator, right? So everyone, tomorrow morning, wake up at 3 a.m. And then go to sleep at, say, 12 noon. And then wake up at 3 p.m. And then go to sleep at 12 midnight. Will that work? Will you do it? That's why I'm not going to force you to do anything. Right? I will never. I can take you to the watering hole. If you want to drink water, if you want to stop starving, I can take you to the place. I can give you a biscuit. I can do all that, but whether you take it or not, that's entirely up to you. So, to answer the question, who can attain Nibbāna? What sort of people can attain Nibbāna? Is it just Buddhist? Is it just people who are smart, intelligent? Is it people who are straight? Who are heterosexual? No, absolutely not. The only condition that's stopping you from attaining Nibbāna is yourself. Because if you're listening to me right now, right, I can tell you that you have, out of the checklist, all of them checked except the last one. Well, Not just accept the last one. Well, it's the last one that decides whether you want to attain, whether you're going to attain Nibbana or not. And again, it's whether you attain unconditional happiness in this life or the next, if you believe in rebirth. If you don't believe in rebirth, fine, don't. I'm not saying rebirth is real. Trust rebirth. If you live a life that you only think, if you believe that you only live once, YOLO, that's fine. I'm just here to show you the path to unconditional happiness. A happiness that is not conditioned. And I'll show you the difference between conditional happiness and unconditional happiness some other time. So who is Nibbana for? Right? Nibbana is for anyone who wants to get rid of suffering, who wants to be happy. Right? Who can attain Nibbana? Someone who has a mind. You have a mind. Someone who can understand what I'm saying. Well, right now, you've listened to, I don't know how long of this. More than half an hour. I don't think if you can't understand what I'm saying, you would still be listening. This is YouTube, obviously. Like, over here, you probably have tons of suggestions. Right? Suggested videos where you could have watched. If you couldn't understand what I'm saying, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have listened to anything I've said. So you understand. Check. You have a mind, you can understand, and you can all experience. And imagine. You can also do. But the last one, whether you're willing, entirely up to you. You can choose whether you want to be happy or sad. You can choose. You can choose whether you want to continuously be suffering or not. Entirely up to you. I don't want to. I'm not going to force you to be happy. I'm not going to force you to be sad or angry. All your choice. You see? The only thing stopping you from being happy is yourself. The only thing stopping you from being happy is yourself. It's only yourself. Honestly, right? That phrase, different people will understand it completely differently. The only thing stopping you from attaining, from being happy is yourself. That phrase, different people will understand it completely differently. It has hundreds of depth. It's very deep. The more you think about it, the deeper it gets. So the only thing stopping you from taking Nibbana, from being happy, forget Nibbana, for being happy is yourself. Honestly, right? That phrase, you understand one way. The person next to you will understand a different way. And me, myself, I understand it a different way as well. Depending on our understanding, we'll understand that differently. So I'd like to thank the question that came in. What is the Buddhist view of the LGBT community? They're the same. You all have a mind, we all have a body. And can they attain Nibbana? Of course they can. Of course they can. Because they all have a mind, they can all understand what I'm saying, they all have experiences, and if they're willing, they can attain Nibbana. Simple as that. So, if you somehow stumbled across this and if you're not Buddhist, I'm not here to talk to Buddhists. I'm not here to talk to religion. I'm not here to talk to one sort of gender, one sexuality. None. I'm not talking to one race. Well, I'm talking to the human race. Well, if aliens can understand, if aliens could somehow find this and understand it, I'm talking to them as well. So honestly, I'm not talking to any race either. If there's aliens, and think about it, right? If there's aliens, and they somehow got this, right? I'm talking to them as well. If they want to, they can attain Nibbāna. Because if they are suffering, that's the only condition to see whether you want to or not. If you are suffering, that means you can attain Nibbāna. If they don't feel suffering, like I don't know about aliens, right? If they can think, and if they have those conditions, right, this checklist, and if they feel suffering, they can attain Nibbāna. Because Nibbāna is not a place, remember? It's unconditional happiness. We'll talk about that some other time, right? It's unconditional happiness. So aliens, if you're an angel, right? If you have that checklist, and you can attain Nibbāna. If you're a devil, right? If you are a deity, if you're royal, if you're the queen, the prince, the princess, duchess, baron, baroness, if you are aristocrats, you can see, right, in stories of the time of the Buddha, right, princes, kings, from the highest kingdoms all the way to the lowest of lowest. People whose jobs were like, toilet cleaning is not bad. I'm not putting that down. I'm saying they didn't clean toilets. What they did was so they didn't have like sewages and the sewer systems. So their jobs were to remove feces, to remove all the things that the rich or the people above them wasted, right? Put out, excreted. They were there to remove it. So from the highest of the highest to the lowest of the lowest. See, even the Buddha, he destroyed the caste system. So if you know or not, back in India, right, 2,500 years ago, there was a caste system, right? You get like the royals, and then it goes down, down, down. And they got the lowest, which is called as untouchables, as a translation, right? How bad this caste system was some rich people, so some people in higher castes, if they saw someone who's untouchable, if they saw them, they would immediately, when they get home, go and wash their eyes with milk. They will wash their eyes. That's how bad of a caste system is. And so when the Buddha started to preach the Dharma, right? Every single person could understand. Well, who could understood and had all that checklist and were willing and had enough merit to attain Nibbāna, did. And I remember a story where a lot of people decided to ordain. A lot of people. And so there's a really big, long line. A long, long line. And it was filled with, at the beginning, obviously, people at the start of the line, these were people in high caste, royals and barons and all that. And then as you go to the back, at the back of this, as I remember, right, at the back of this line, it was the royal hairdresser. And so what the Buddha did was, He told the royal hairdresser to come and put him in the front. Because why? Caste. Does your mind have a caste? No, it doesn't. Honestly, if you told a person who understood the Dharma, there are 72 genders. Honestly, if they understood the Dharma, they won't be surprised. Why? Because we're talking about a mind. We'll talk about the mind some other day. But here's an interesting fact, right? What gender is a mind? Do you have a masculine mind? A feminine mind? Whether you feel masculine, whether you feel feminine, that's something that you feel. It's a feeling that you have in the mind. Body-wise, I understand, right? So if you have a male body, that I understand, right? Then you're male, right? Body-wise. But when it comes to the mind, what gender is the mind? The mind doesn't have a gender. The mind doesn't have a specific gender, so when you were born, no one comes and stamps, you've got a male body and a male mind, a female body, a female mind, a male body and a female mind, a female body, male mind. No one's stamping anything. Body, obviously, you obviously learn, right? That gender, that there's males and females, and body-wise it can differ. But the mind can change. The mind only feels a certain gender. So if someone who understood the Dharma, if you told them that, look, there are 72 genders, they'll be like, right. And the other day, I had a conversation with one of our monks, or my teacher, and we came onto the topic, like, he didn't know about a lot of things, right? Because in Sri Lanka, like, the community of the LGBTQ community is pretty small, right? And not many people truly understand it. So I was having a conversation with one of my teachers, and we came onto the topic of gender fluidity. If you don't know what that is, well, a person at one moment can be a male, the next moment can feel female, right? And when I was talking to him, honestly, I thought that at that moment he's going to be surprised. He's going to be like, what? That can't happen, and etc., etc. And then what he said was, of course. And I was shocked. I was like, he took it very, like that's also can happen. I was shocked when he took it like it was like, because obviously, right, in Sri Lanka, these things are very like almost, right, like it's almost taboo in some places, right? But he took it. No, he said it was normal, and I asked him, like, how, why do you why did you say of course? And then he told me that a mind has no gender. So the gender of the mind is what it feels. So at one moment, if it feels female, then it's female. If at one moment it feels male, then it's male. And so it can happen. So can people can people who are queer, from people who are questioning still, people who are trans, who are lesbians, bi, can they, who are pansexual, asexual, I can't remember every single one, two spirits, I'm sorry, but I can't remember all of them, right? But each and every one of them can attain Nibbāna. Each and every one of them. You see, the Buddha had preached the Dharma for each and every one of them. He solved a problem that everyone faces. Whether you're a man or a woman, like physically and mentally, whatever gender you are, mentally, whether you're whatever race you are, whatever religion you are, because back in the time of Buddha, there were tons of religions. Like at the time of Buddha, obviously, like Christianity and other many religions weren't there, but there were tons of others, other teachers. But he found a problem that is universal. A universal problem. So if you don't feel, so he found the solution for suffering. So if you don't feel suffering, then by all means, don't even think about Nibbana. Because there's no point. If you don't feel suffering, don't think about Nibbana. When I mean suffering, right? Obviously you know that I mean not physical suffering, right? I'm talking about mental suffering. Because physical suffering is unavoidable. As long as you have a body, you'll feel physical suffering. Well, as long as you have the body and all the nerves intact and all that, the neurons and everything, then physical pain, physical suffering is unavoidable. But mental pain, mental suffering is optional. It's optional. You can decide. So, I'm going to end it there, right? I'd like to thank the person who sent the question in. It's a very, very, very good question. Honestly, there is no such thing as a stupid question. A stupid question would be, I don't know, well, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but if it's a question that someone has, a legitimate question, not something to make fun of or to trick or to confuse others, then there's no such thing as a stupid question. I know that as a fact, right? And I can tell you that one small question can change your entire life. So, again, I would like to thank the person who sent that question in. It's an amazing question. And if you have any others, right? If any of you have any questions, you can also send them in, and if I can answer it, I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. Obviously, I can't answer anymore, right? If it's something that I don't know, I'll see if I can find out, and then answer it. But if I don't know at all, right? And if I can't find out, or if I find out and I don't understand the answer, I can't answer that question. Right? So before we conclude, right, I want to remind you of the checklist, right, to attain Nibbāna. What is it? Mind. Do you have a mind? Can you understand what I'm saying? Or someone who can preach, or someone who can show you the path to Nibbāna. Do you understand what they say? So it's not just me, right? I'm not the only one who knows the path to Nibbāna. See, I'm still learning. I'm still going on the path. Right? So usually someone who, or a Kalyan Mitra, someone who's noble, someone who understands Dharma. Right? If you can understand what they're saying. Whether you have experiences. Whether you have experiences and you can experience things and feel and understand that what you're feeling. The last one. Are you willing to get rid of suffering? Are you willing to be happy? Are you willing to be a student? Are you willing to be open? And then you can attain Nibbāna. You can find unconditional happiness. That's it. And so again, I'll remind you, if you have any questions, please send some of the questions either on the chat or as a comment. And if you want to answer a question that someone else had put in, be free to answer. Right? Because I like to see what you guys think. What do you all think? Right? And obviously there's no such thing as a right or wrong answer. Right? In some questions, obviously. And honestly, I like to see what you guys think. And also, I forgot to do one very important thing. What is that? I forgot to wish you all a Happy New Year. So we ended a complete new year from 2021 to 2022. I hope this year you'll be much, much more happy. Happier than last year. That will always be my wish. Every year. For you to be happier than last. One day, may you find a happiness that doesn't finish, that has no end. That's my New Year's wish for all of you. Okay then. So let's conclude the Buddhist secret here. But before that, let's take a few moments to transfer merits and conclude. So let's take a moment to transfer the merits before we're quiet by making offerings to the infinite virtues, the noble gem, chanting prayers, listening to Dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be able to receive all of these teachings. And with immense gratitude, let's transfer the merits to the Bhikshu Bhikshunis, Upasakas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha, and passed it down through the generation and noble lineage in the form of Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend Dharma. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to all the members of Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all the chapters, who dedicate their life to no path, commit themselves to the betterment of all sentient beings. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to all the monks and nuns residing in local temples and nunneries, who's always been by his side, who thick and thin, come and shine. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to Guru Sannyasi, as well as all the monks in the monastery, as well as Anagarikas and Garikas attached to the monastery. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits and express our gratitude to those who Make great effort to disseminate teaching Buddha. Be thereby translating these sermons, sharing them out with others, inviting others to join them. May the power merits, if any have been born over plane, may they redeem themselves born this plane. May the power merits, may they abstain from meritorious deeds. Fulfill the meritorious deeds. Fulfill the noble path, and attain Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take one chance our merits. Let's all take one chance our merits and express our gratitude to those who made great effort to disseminate teaching Buddha. Be thereby translating the sermons, sharing them out with others, inviting us to join them. May the power of the merits, if any have been born over the plane, may they redeem themselves born on this plane. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from meritorious deeds. Fulfill the meritorious deeds. Fulfill the noble path, attain Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all chance our merits, the world cry to our devotees, friends of the monastery, for sake of merits, continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, roads, medicines, as well as those who pass on the know-how and their well wishes. May the path of merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the evil path, and attain Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Those who take more chance of merits to our mothers, fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons, daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, elders, friends, and acquaintances, employees, to all those who have helped us, support us, assist us in any shape or form by the power of merits. May they be healed in physical and mental ailments. May they overcome any obstacles on the spiritual progress. May they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Also take more chance of merits to Devas, Brahmins, spirits, Demon, Parans, Sakadeva, as well as numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. Also take more chance of merits to our garden deities who keep watchful eye of us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power of merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds. Fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the evil path, and attain Supreme Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's take more chance of merits to our ancestors who predeceased us, to all those who have been friends, family, acquaintances in this inflowing jet samsara. To all those who have helped us support us in any shape or form, to take a moment to transfer merits. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to the members of the armed forces, whereas the police force, who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those lost life in war be the friend of foe who just merits quite today. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to all those lost life in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been friends, family, acquaintances in this long journey samsara. Let's all take more chance of merits to them. May the power of merits, if any have been born over a plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in the bliss of plane. May the power of merits, may they abstain from meritorious deeds. Fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the evil path, and attain Supreme Bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, may soul resolve, may the power and blessing of all merits quiet throughout the day. We may witness the event of many hundreds of thousands of arhats on this blessed land. And finally, may the power of all the merits quiet throughout today. You and I, and everyone who made this program a success, become an Arhat or Arhat Minnuanse in real life, in the Gautam Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of Noble Triple Gem